Manor, I do want to start with you because, of course, you have so much experience with the DC National Guard and really understand how this city works. Can you explain what this would look like, what this does look like, and whether it's necessary?
Right up front, we've got to be certain that there is no data that supports that there isn't any kind of emergency that requires a military response in the District of Columbia. There is no data. In all my time as the acting vice chief of the National Guard Bureau, as well as a member of the DC National Guard, there is nothing that supports the president's allegations. This, at best, is a police opportunity where the mayor is engaging with the community as she should be. So again, there is no requirement here for military operation. This is absolutely a distraction from the president's domestic woes, whether it has to do with the Epstein files or the jobless rate. It's just him trying to divert attention by taking armed military on the streets of our national capital. It's actually a disgrace.
Shan Wu, from a legal perspective, again, the president has to notify Congress if he wants to do this for more than 48 hours, which he says he's done. It also there needs to be a significant crisis or a problem. Do you think it meets the legal threshold?
No, it doesn't. He can only do it for 30 days to begin with. After that, you would really need Congress to do something. And if it gets litigated, which it may, it doesn't really seem like there's a factual basis for it. I was a prosecutor in D.C. where we do the street crime as well as traditional federal crimes. The key to making the city safer is good community policing. You're not going to get that by federalizing the National Guard, putting FBI agents on every street corner. It does not make sense. There are task forces that already exist for the police to work with ATF, DA, FBI. This solution is just for show. It's not going to help the community.
Maria?
I completely agree, and I completely agree with the Major General. Donald Trump has absolutely zero interest in protecting the residents of the District of Columbia. He has every interest in distracting the American people from everything that is going on with him that is causing his poll numbers to tank, starting with the Epstein stuff, including his numbers on the economy, his numbers on immigration. And speaking of immigration, Kasie, here's another thing that I think is very concerning about what is happening and a result that could be another disaster, as the mayor put it. I've talked to a lot of Latina moms who are already concerned that their kids could be snatched off the street by ICE agents that are already all over the city. Now, I've spoken to young black mothers whose young teenage boys, they fear for their lives, and they're saying, I'm not going to let my young teenage boy who goes on the metro all the time, goes to see his friends, I'm not going to let him go because I have no idea what's going to happen with this kind of police presence now. That's a huge concern for these communities.
Doug Heye, I will say, one of the things we also heard from Muriel Bowser was at one point during the press conference, she said, well, maybe it actually wouldn't be such a bad thing to have help in our neighborhoods, to have more support. So while I take the point that Maria is making, I certainly know quite a few people who are concerned about the crime rate in Washington, don't feel that this city is as safe as it was before the COVID pandemic. What say you?
Well, I think Muriel Bowser is one of the more interesting people to watch as she negotiates things with Donald Trump, given where the District of Columbia is. She is a lot smarter than I think a lot of her detractors had given her credit for. Today is one of the reasons why. You used the word feelings a couple times already, and we can talk about statistics. Yes, violent crime has fallen in D.C., and that's a wonderful thing. But people are feeling unsafe in this community. Anytime you walk through Union Station, 3 blocks from here, I do it every day. I'm liable to see a girl brawl. That was 2 weeks ago. I'm liable to see public urination, men and women, 1 and 2. Sorry. I will see, about 2 months ago, somebody using polite word here, a gentleman really enjoying himself in a public setting. This is Union Station. This is a flagship of the District of Columbia. And where Donald Trump uses really nasty rhetoric, well, when I think about Union Station, I think he's right. And part of that is I'm also colored by it because when I walk down I Street Northeast and I go to the grocery store, as I did yesterday, I get jumpy on that 500 block because that's where I got mugged 3 years ago. And did the cops find those perpetrators? No, they didn't, who did the same thing 30 minutes earlier, half a mile away. So yes, this is continuing. The numbers have fallen. That's a good thing. But people feel this, and it's why people are moving to nicer neighborhoods or outside of the District of Columbia. And we all know people who've done that in the past 2 or 3 years.
General Manner, I want to play for you something that Trump also said this morning about other cities beyond the District of Columbia, because obviously he does have special powers. Any president has special powers because the District of Columbia is not a state. He has special powers over the National Guard. But here's what he had to say about other cities, the warning that he had. Let's watch.
We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with DC, and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say.
General, is that a threat?
It's actually a statement of fact. The president will actually, with 100% certainty from where I sit, as his numbers continue to tank, or he needs to divert the American people's attention, he will move federal troops into other cities that are not widely supportive of his policies. That means we're talking about New York, we're talking Philadelphia, Baltimore, Chicago, Seattle, San Francisco, other cities. So this is something where I do agree. We need to have a strong police presence in the local community, and I applaud the mayor's efforts that she has been taking with her police chief. That's exactly the way it should be. Again, this is a police matter for the local community. It is not the area to have armed soldiers on the street. You're taking them away from their civilian jobs, away from their families. And we also don't even think about the impact on the rest of the guardsmen in our nation. Our guard is probably not going to be able to meet the payroll for the remaining part of the year because they will not have enough money reimbursed by Congress to pay for all of these endeavors, to include the 4,000 guardsmen that were in Los Angeles, as well as this one. And of course, the Army birthday parade, which has not been reimbursed yet to those various states that supported it. So this is affecting literally tens of thousands of families across our nation, and it's done as a political ploy on the backs of our young men and women in uniform.
This also raises the question, Doug Heye, about the $1 billion hole that Congress blew in DC's budget and what that money could be used for, which is fighting crime here. And now Republicans have basically said that they were going to fix it, but then have basically neglected to fix it. Is there any movement on that?
No, and the money that should be repaid for the parade, that's not going to get repaid. That's just sort of the political reality on Capitol Hill now. And Republicans know that if they're talking about being tough on crime, and I say this as somebody who was a big supporter of what President Trump did on criminal justice reform, those were smart bills that I think only Trump sort of could have gotten through, that when they talk about being tough on crime, they're on terra firma for Republican voters. That's what they want to be talking about, regardless of distractions. And I'm old enough to remember whenever something came up in the Monica Lewinsky scandal, well, we might have dropped some bombs somewhere. So, Donald Trump is a master at distraction. He's not the only one to have done this.
And here's the other thing. I think D.C. is an easy target because D.C. doesn't have senators, doesn't have members of Congress, right? They don't really have a voice in the federal government. And D.C. has always been a target for Donald Trump. We just know it, right? It's also a very blue district. Again, right, another target for Donald Trump, as will be the other blue cities. But while I agree with you, Doug, that crime is an issue that has always been a plus for Donald Trump, there is massive, I think, danger for him in terms of political overreach, because people are seeing it across the country. They are saying this is what a dictator acts like. There could be political backlash for Republicans.
All right.